Hey, once again, thanks for being here again. Again, prepping for one of the best bowl games of the year, and with two fantastic teams that are coming. Like I said before, not very often will we get two highly ranked top 20 teams playing the Sun Bowl. So we're super excited. The city is super excited. We're all very excited. Like I said, I want to thank coaches for taking some time out of their busy schedules to come and meet with you all. So first, I'd like to introduce the offensive coordinator for Notre Dame, Gino Guidugli. Coach, if you would make an opening statement and open it up for questions.
Really excited to be here. Looking forward to the game. Can't get here soon enough. I need to stand up. All right. Thank you. Sorry about that. Yeah, really excited to be here. Looking forward to the game. Looking forward to the game getting here, and seeing a lot of young guys on our team having an opportunity to play in the game. Without that, questions.
Coach, Merry Christmas. Starting with your right tackle, the decision you had to make there, what separated the two guys competing for that spot?
Both of those guys did a good job. I think we've got good depth there. It was just the attention to detail. Coach Rudolph does a great job with them, and just at the end of the day, Taj had a better week of preparation leading up to the game.
And with Jagasaw, can you tell me specifically the mechanical aspects of his game that have been impressive to you?
Jags is just like, he's a huge human being and moves really well for his size. And on top of that, like, the guy's a true freshman, and he just you teach him, he reps it, he knows it, he can go execute it. And his ability to just take information and be able to apply it to the field, make adjustments on the fly, is what's going to make him special.
And with a first-time starter at quarterback, new offensive lineman, different starter at running back, obviously that's a big challenge for you as a coach and for the offense as a whole. Can you just talk to me about how much of a playbook that you can possibly put into a game like this when you have guys that are really starting from an unfamiliar position?
Yeah, I mean, it's a whole new offense, right? At the end of the day, we've got 3 starters returning, and 2 of those starters have only started 3 or 4 games, in Billy and Ashton. So everybody else will be getting an opportunity to have their first start in a game of this magnitude. So you got to go back to your basics, your foundation, your install one stuff from training camp. And the fortunate thing is you get a lot of time to prepare for a game like this, so you can get stuff in. And we've got really smart kids at Notre Dame, and those guys will go out there, they'll be able to execute. And as far as just back to your question, as far as how much can you put in, like, we'll be able to do enough, but we're going to lean on the things that we think that we're best at.
You have 2 wide receivers that were delayed with hamstring injuries, starting in September, with Thomas and Greathouse. How do you think that now that they're a little more on the healthy side, how they can help your offense have some production? Yeah,
those are 2 of the guys with more experience out there when you look at the rest of the cast outside of those 3 starters that I mentioned. So those guys, JT's played in a lot of games. JG was off to a fast start as a freshman, starting in Ireland. But those are 2 guys we got to lean on the pass game to be where they're supposed to be for Steve and make catches, and they'll be guys that you're going to see a lot of come game day.
Thanks, Coach.
Gino, what's the last week or so been like for you, going from working with and for Jared, and then this is kind of your offense now? So I know you've been in OC before, but going into a game like this.
Well, this time of year just becomes like totally hectic. Like, you got the portal, you got your high school kids that you're trying to keep committed. You've got coaching changes, and you've got guys opting out of the bowl game to go pursue their dreams in the NFL. So it's just kind of a hectic time of year, and you just take it one day at a time. And the fortunate thing about the way Jared Parker ran things as the offensive coordinator is everybody was involved. It was a collaborative effort for each and every game plan. So going into it, the game plan was mostly in place by the time Jared took the job at Troy, and we're just continuing to execute that game plan, moving towards the game. As you said, we've got a lot of guys that are making their first start, so we want to keep it fairly simple and give those guys a chance to go out there and play fast.
And then with Steve, he's been a number 2 pretty much the entire time here because of the injuries last year, and then he's backing up Sam this year. So in your 1 year with him, how has he kind of prepared himself for this moment?
He's shown such a tremendous amount of growth, and obviously my experience with him when I got there in February was just trying to evaluate who this kid is, what's he capable of, and just the improvements he's made from February to this point now. Like, he's going to have a chance to be a really good player, especially if he continues on that trend of being able to make the same improvements he made last year this upcoming year. This is a great opportunity for him to try to springboard that with the opportunity to start and show what he can do.
Naturally, a really cool moment for Steve to come in and get his first career start, but he's obviously doing it behind pretty much an entirely new O-line, new wide receivers, new running backs. How does that kind of change things and how you prepare into this game?
He's never started before, so he don't know no different. You know what I mean? All those guys are the guys he's going to go out there with. It's not like he had a chance to go out there and play with the starters, so those are the guys that, for the most part, he's been practicing with. Those guys are going to be equally excited. Like, this means a lot to those guys that are having their first opportunity to start. So, like, I think the motivation is there for those guys to go out there and perform well. I don't think Steve's thinking about who's playing in front of him or outside. I think he's just worried about him going in and make sure he's executing the game plan.
Gino, the pregame walk that you do with your quarterbacks about an hour before the game,
Yep.
where does that come from? How long have you been doing that? What is the benefit of that?
So it's funny that you know that, but that came from when I was a player in college. My offense coordinator or quarterback coach was Dan Enos, and we used to take the field. And to me, like, the process is we go down and we start in coming out. So the ball's on the 1 yard line. I'm going to make sure they understand where the play clocks are inside the stadium. And then we're just going to talk through situation by situation, like balls on the 1, this is the call that you can expect. And now being the one that's like calling the plays, like I can give them specifically like, hey, if we get into this situation, this is what you're going to get. But we'll start in coming out. We go to midfield. We talk about the third down, third and long, third and medium, third and short. And then we work high red zone. Then we go low red zone. Then we go goal line. Then we go 2-point plays. And just kind of giving those guys the ability to have an expectation of what the call is going to be when they get in those situations. And kind of talk through what coverage or what pressures we're expecting in those situations.
You've been in here in El Paso since Christmas Eve. What's the experience been like celebrating the holidays with all your colleagues here in El Paso, Texas?
The food's been great. The people have been super nice. I expected it to be a little bit warmer than what it is. But El Paso's been great. Looking forward to having a couple more days to experience it. And, again, we came here for a reason, and that's to play a game. So looking forward to that as well.
And then Dan Enos, you talked about before being a big influence, but you had the 5 years with Mike Denbrock at Cincinnati. How might that inform you? How did that change the way you looked at game calling? Because you had a chance to do that in the year after.
Sure.
That.
You know, Mike and I had a lot of success together when we were at Cincinnati, so looking forward to joining back up with him. I know he's got a lot of experience at Notre Dame and loves this place. You know, he made that perfectly clear when we worked together at Cincinnati. He has a lot of fond memories. Him and Diane love South Bend, and looking forward to linking back up with him.
Well, just in general terms, as an influence on your approach to a game day calling, you're going to be calling it plays in a bowl game. What
Yeah.
are some of his philosophies that we in your mind?
Not really. I think you go into it kind of like as you're playing quarterback, you know, the game plan is like you're kind of calling it like you would as the quarterback is kind of how I look at it. And, you know, everybody has like their little quirks that they have in game planning or in calling an offense. But influence-wise, I think like you just kind of learn by watching and, you know, you try to figure out, you know, here's what my expectation of the defense is, how I can take advantage of it, and making sure that your guys are on the same page as you.
Thank you, Coach.
No problem.
Thank you, Coach. Thank you very much. Next, I'd like to introduce the defensive coordinator for Notre Dame Fighting Irish, Mr. Al Golden. Coach.
Merry Christmas, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Olivas and the Sun Bowl for this opportunity. We're grateful to be here. We're grateful for the opportunity to play another top 20 program. Obviously, those matchups are few and far between in the bowl season, so we have one of them, and obviously Oregon State has our full attention. So been very impressed with them from an offensive standpoint. They've had some opt-outs. We've had some opt-outs. But I don't think that's going to change really who they are at the core, which is a very, very balanced offensive unit, run pass, and also from a personnel standpoint. They really they really challenge you with personnel groupings and formationing. So from that, from that standpoint, we're excited about the opportunity and been working hard to defend them.
Coach, how do you intend kind of to emphasize the strengths of Kaiser and also wondering about the nickel role with the absence of Harper.
Yeah, so nickel, there's been a couple of different ways that we can go, with it. Silu can go in there. Christian can, take some reps in there. Christian Gray, and Mike has been repping there too. So there's 3 candidates there. Kai's, you can argue the last half of the season has been one of the more productive players and has really improved. So we're excited. Obviously, an early Christmas gift for us when he announced to come back, along with Riley and Howard. But no, we're excited about Jack, and he'll still play, outside in the the 4-3 package. In the 4-2 package, he'll be inside.
You mentioned Christian. What has he shown you with a chance to start?
Well, I think Christian has made a steady climb all year. He loves football. He's constantly, in one-on-one meetings with Coach Mick, trying to improve, trying to get better, trying to glean as much as he can in the film room. So he's ready for this opportunity. He's had some opportunities already this year. So, we have a lot of confidence in Christian.
And paying attention to Josh Burnham, it seems like he's really been continuing to grow into his frame. Moving forward past the game, do you think that he could compete at the strong side in the spring?
I do. Really either side, but I do think his frame will allow him to hold considerably more weight and still be really, really fluid athlete. He is a fluid athlete. He can run. He's longer than a lot of people think when you stand next to him. So I do think he's going to be a 255-pound player this coming season, and I think that's really going to afford him the opportunity to hold up inside, but yet be fast enough and fluid enough to rush the passer on the outside.
Al, you've had obviously both sides of the NFL and now this back into this. What's it in this current environment of college football? What have these 2 years been like? How much of the adjustment do you feel you've got now under your belt? How comfortable are you now at the college level?
Well, I think Gino alluded to it earlier. There's a confluence of so many things coming together in December that make it challenging. I think what makes it easier for all of us as coaches is Coach Freeman. Just the steady approach to it, the leadership, just steadfast in his values and beliefs and what we want to achieve as a program. And that makes it easier to come to work. You're disappointed sometimes by the challenges that are college football right now, but then you're rewarded when you come down here and you see our players interact with the Sun Bowl people and the people of El Paso. It makes it really rewarding, and for that we're grateful.
Coach, how hard is it to prepare for an offense where you haven't seen the quarterback play a game all this season?
Well, I think it is challenging because you don't know how they're going to evolve on game day. So we have to be, like Gino was saying, trying to keep it simple but be broad. And be adaptable on game day. I think at least in this situation, we have 8 games, where he started a year ago, to go back and say, okay, what did he really do well? What might they do? And they might not do any of that, but at least you have an idea of, how they saw him in the offense a year ago and what they may do with him, on Friday.
How do you approach kind of all the opt-outs when you have? How do you kind of go about that with your team and what the challenges there?
Yeah, I think each case is on an individual basis, right? So I think the biggest thing is, and I could speak from a defensive standpoint, we kept a really good core together, with the exception of 3 or maybe 4. The unit that we'll put on the field, on Friday will be the unit that will play for us next year. So that in and of itself is a challenge to the guys, right? Because there is no excuses. It's their unit now. And they got to step up and defend a really good Oregon State offense. So that's number one. Number two, it gives young people the opportunity to step up, to say, you know what, I haven't played as much, but I've been working all year, and in those bowl practices, gives them an opportunity for exposure among their peers, show that they can play at the standard, and contribute. So I think there's a lot of positives that can come from it as well.
Al, you mentioned Riley and Howard and talked about Jack a little bit as well. How big is it not just to have those guys for this game, but like you said, they're coming back next year, and Xavier could be one of those guys as well?
Again, I think it's a blessing, to be able to coach young people like that have such a big picture vision. Howard, he's gonna get a master's in the spring, and I think he's got a big picture of what he wants to achieve, the next 5 years of his life, starting with getting a master's in the spring, then obviously being one of our leaders on defense, and then ultimately being one of the best defensive tackles in the country. And he's got a big picture, and he's not in a rush to do that. He wants to be the best he can be, and I think Riley and Jack, they all share the same thing. They want to be great. They want to be leaders, and they want to be a part of really, really something special next year. And obviously, when you have kids like that in your locker room, it makes it fun to come to work every day.
What kind of look has C.J. Clark given the defense working with the scout team?
Again, if you want to bring Gino back up to talk a little bit about C.J., all I could say is just unselfish. Right off the bat, just unselfish. What do you need, Coach? How can I help the defense with the looks? There's one thing that jumps out right away is just his arm talent. I haven't spent as much time with Gino or the offensive coaches with him, but he does have arm talent and velocity, and clearly that's been a positive in this bowl season.
One last question right here, Coach, is just talk about the time you've had here in the last few days celebrating the Christmas holiday with your colleagues, and I'm sure your family's been around. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, no, it's been great. There's been multiple events that my children and my wife have attended, as well as myself, which has been awesome. The hospitality's been great. Again, I grew up watching this game, so many times. We were talking about it on the bus, I was thinking about the Thurman Thomas game. Like, people are like, "What? You remember that?" And I think about some of those games over the years, and so obviously it's great to be here. And but it's always been well run, and it's just great to be a part of it.
Thank you very much, Coach. If you could just get with Bernie Oliva
Sure.
a quick picture, and we'll let you guys be on your way.
Yeah, thank you all for being here. And Coach, at that Thurman Thomas game, there was about 5 inches of snow on the ground. And the last time Notre Dame was here, there was about 5 inches of snow on the ground. We're going to have temperatures in the 60s this year. Thank you for being here.